Evelyn Harper had grown accustomed to the relentless demands of her job as a traveling nurse in the desolate stretches of Alaska. Long hours, unpredictable emergencies, and endless drives through the unforgiving wilderness were part of her routine. The isolation didn't faze her. She thrived on the quiet solitude of the road, where the only sounds were the hum of her SUV's engine and the occasional crackle of the radio. But on that fateful night in late December, as she drove back from a remote clinic near Palmer toward her home in Anchorage, something felt different. The air carried an unspoken weight, a tension that clung to her like the cold seeping through her vehicle's windows. The snow had begun falling hours earlier, soft at first, like a gentle curtain draping the landscape. By the time Evelyn left the clinic at 1:45 a.m., it had escalated into a full-blown blizzard. The radio buzzed with warnings of worsening conditions, urging drivers to seek shelter. Evelyn dismissed the advice. She was tired, her muscles aching from a 12-hour shift, and the thought of curling up in her own bed outweighed the risks. Besides, she'd driven through worse, whiteouts so dense they swallowed the world, leaving only the faint glow of reflective road markers to guide her. She was no stranger to Alaska's wrath. As she merged onto the Glen Highway, the storm intensified. Snowflakes pelted her windshield, thick and unyielding, reducing visibility to a few feet. Her headlights struggled against the onslaught, illuminating only a swirling void of white. The road was deserted, a rarity even for this hour, and the silence felt oppressive, broken only by the rhythmic thump of her wipers. Evelyn tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her knuckles pale beneath her gloves. She told herself it was just another drive, just another night. But deep down, a nagging unease stirred, a primal instinct whispering that something was wrong. 10 miles into her journey, she saw it. A figure emerged from the blizzard, barely discernible against the snowbanks lining the road. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, a shadow cast by the storm. But as her high beams swept over, the shape, it solidified into a person. Tall, motionless, clad in a bulky winter coat with the hood drawn tight. Snow clung to the figure's shoulders, as if they'd been standing there for hours, untouched by the wind's ferocity. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. Her foot hovered over the brake, but she didn't stop. Something about the figure's stillness unnerved her. In her years as a nurse, she'd seen people in distress, frantic, shivering, desperate for help. This person was none of those things. They stood like a statue, head slightly tilted as if watching her approach. She kept driving, her heart pounding. In the rearview mirror, the figure remained motionless, swallowed by the darkness as she passed. Evelyn tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a stranded motorist, too cold to move, waiting for a ride. Maybe they were disoriented, lost in the storm. But the image lingered, etched into her mind, the hooded silhouette, the unnatural stillness. She turned up the radio, hoping music would drown out the unease, but the static-heavy signal only amplified her anxiety. 15 miles later, the impossible happened. There, on the right side of the road, closer now, stood the same figure. Same coat, same hood, same snow-dusted shoulders. Evelyn's stomach lurched. There were no turnoffs, no side roads, no way for anyone to have overtaken her in this storm. She slammed on the brakes, her SUV fishtailing on the icy pavement. Her pulse thundered in her ears as she stared at the figure, now barely 10 feet from the road. The headlights illuminated the scene, but the snow obscured the face beneath the hood. For a moment, the figure moved, a subtle shift, angling its body toward her car. Evelyn's breath hitched. She didn't wait to see more. She floored the gas, her tires spinning before catching traction. The storm grew fiercer, the wind howling like a living thing. Evelyn's hands trembled on the wheel, her mind racing. She checked the rearview mirror obsessively, half expecting to see the figure standing behind her. The gaslight blinked on, a cruel reminder of her dwindling fuel. She needed to stop soon, but the thought of pulling over filled her with dread. The road stretched on, an endless tunnel of white, until suddenly, there it was again, directly in the middle of the highway. Evelyn screamed, yanking the wheel to avoid a collision. The SUV skidded, tires shrieking against the ice, and for a heart-stopping moment, she thought she'd crash. When she regained control, the figure was gone. No footprints, no sign of movement, just the empty road. Shaking, Evelyn drove on, her breath shallow and ragged. She reached a gas station an hour later, the fluorescent lights a beacon in the storm. The attendant, a grizzled man in his 50s, noticed her trembling hands as she paid for gas. "You okay?" he asked, his voice gruff but concerned. Words spilled out before she could stop them. "I saw someone on the road 3 times, the same person. There's no way they could have..." She stopped, expecting skepticism, but the attendant's face hardened. He leaned closer, his eyes darting to the empty parking lot. "You're the 3rd driver this week to tell me that," he said quietly. Same description. Hooded coat, just standing there. Evelyn didn't sleep that night. She scoured the internet for answers, missing persons, accidents, local legends, but found nothing. She never took that route again, but the memory of the figure haunted her. On quiet winter nights when snow blanketed the world, she'd stare out her window, half expecting to see that hooded silhouette standing in her driveway watching.